get ready, because today we are going into the world of ontology
The study of being.
with excerpts from Martin Heidegger's The Basic Problems of Phenomenology
A collection of lectures
from 1927.
where he tackles the question,
Yeah.
what does it mean to be? Big question.
It is a big question.
Yeah.
And I have to say, when this request came in, I was a little bit intimidated.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
ontology, it's a big...
can be.
Yeah, it's very abstract.
Can be.
So, but then I started reading it,
Yeah.
and I was really fascinated
It's really interesting stuff.
by how Heidegger kind of like pulls back the curtain on reality.
He does.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is how this seemingly abstract question has
Yeah.
huge implications for how we understand ourselves, the
Yeah.
world, and everything in it,
It's true.
you know?
I-
It's not just rehashing old debates. He's questioning the very foundation of Western thought.
Right.
He argues that for centuries, philosophy has been obsessed with individual things,
Okay.
what he calls beings.
Uh-huh.
But in doing so, it's overlooked the bigger picture,
Yep.
being itself, the condition that allows anything to exist.
So instead of studying trees, Heidegger wants to know what it means to be a tree.
Precisely. He's calling for a radical shift in perspective. So
Right.
it's like we've been so focused on the actors on stage
Yep.
that we've forgotten to ask about the stage itself.
Oh.
What makes it possible?
Right.
What are its properties?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do we even approach something like that?
Wow.
As vast as being.
Heidegger introduces a key concept, Dasein,
Dasein.
which roughly translates to being there.
Okay.
It refers specifically to the way humans exist in the world.
Okay.
We're not just another object alongside rocks and trees.
Right.
We have this unique being in the world.
Being in the world.
Mm.
Break that down for me.
Think about it. You're not just passively observing the world.
Uh-huh.
You're constantly interacting with it,
Right.
shaping it, and being shaped by it.
Okay.
You understand things in terms of their purpose and meaning within your life.
So, like, a hammer isn't just a random piece of metal to me. It's a tool for building. And that understanding is part of how I exist in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And this understanding
Yeah.
is a fundamental part of what makes us human.
Right.
It influences how we perceive,
Okay.
interact with,
Okay.
and ultimately define our own existence.
Wow.
Yeah,
This is getting deep.
it is.
So we've got beings, and now Dasein,
Like,
our unique way of being in the world.
Mhm.
But where does time fit into all of this?
Time.
Time.
This is where Heidegger really throws us a curveball.
Okay.
He argues that time, or temporality as he calls it,
Oh.
is the very foundation of both Dasein and being itself.
Wait, hold on. You're
Yeah.
saying time isn't just something that happens to us? It's
Yeah.
like built into who we are and the very fabric of reality.
Precisely.
Okay.
Heidegger challenges the traditional view of time as a straight line,
Okay.
past, present, future.
Uh-huh.
He argues that it's much more complex,
Okay.
a dynamic interplay where all three dimensions are constantly influencing each other.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack, but I'm definitely intrigued.
It is.
So, if time is so fundamental to being,
Right.
does that mean our everyday understanding of past, present, and future is wrong?
Not necessarily wrong,
Okay.
but incomplete.
Okay.
Heidegger reinterprets these concepts,
Okay.
giving them a deeper meaning within his framework of temporality.
All right, I'm ready to have my mind blown.
All right.
Let's dive into how Heidegger redefines our understanding of time.
Okay, so Heidegger starts by taking aim at some of the biggest names in Western philosophy,
Okay.
like Aristotle, Kant, and Descartes.
Taking on the giants.
He does.
That's a deep dive I can get behind.
That's what we do.
Let's start with Aristotle. What's Heidegger's beef with him?
So Aristotle,
Mhm.
often called the father of metaphysics,
Okay.
emphasized the concepts of substance and essence.
Uh-huh.
He believed that every being has a certain underlying substance
Right.
that makes it what it is,
Okay.
and an essence that defines its characteristics.
So, like, the substance of a tree is its wood and leaves, and its essence is treeness.
Exactly.
Okay.
And for Aristotle, understanding these was key to understanding being.
Mm-hmm.
However, Heidegger argues that this leads to a static, fixed view of being,
Okay.
ignoring its dynamic and constantly unfolding nature.
So, Aristotle's philosophy is like a snapshot,
Mm.
but what we need is a movie.
A perfect analogy.
Okay.
Heidegger wants us to see being as a process,
Right.
a verb rather than a noun.
Okay.
It's not about what something is,
Uh-huh.
but about its constant becoming.
Okay, so Aristotle is out.
Right.
What about Kant?
Kant.
Didn't he try to address some of the problems with traditional metaphysics?
He did. Kant, with his transcendental idealism,
Uh-huh.
argued that we can only know the world as it appears to us,
Okay.
shaped by our minds,
Right.
not as it is in itself.
Okay.
But Heidegger felt Kant focused too much on the structure of the mind
Right.
and not enough on the being of the world itself.
So instead of studying the world, Kant is just studying how our minds perceive the world.
You got it.
Okay.
Heidegger believes this approach leads to a kind of subjectivism,
Okay.
where the focus shifts away from the world's being
Right.
and onto human consciousness.
Okay, so both Aristotle and Kant are on Heidegger's philosophical hit list.
That's right.
What about Descartes?
Descartes.
He's famous for emphasizing the individual subject with his I think, therefore I am.
And that's precisely where Heidegger takes issue with Descartes.
Okay.
He argues that by placing so much emphasis on the I,
Yeah.
Descartes further separates the subject from the world,
Right.
leading to a kind of philosophical isolation.
So, Heidegger is saying that we can't understand ourselves without understanding our relationship to the world, to everything around us.
Exactly. He believes that our being is fundamentally intertwined with the world.
Right.
And that's where his concept of Dasein,
Yeah.
being in the world, comes in.
Okay, so Heidegger has taken down some major philosophical heavyweights.
Yeah.
What does he offer as an alternative to these dead ends?
Heidegger's solution is radical.
Okay.
He wants to shift the focus away from the individual subject
Okay.
and towards being itself.
Okay.
He argues that we can't understand being by analyzing beings. We need a completely new approach,
Okay.
one that starts with our own experience of being in the world.
So instead of starting with I think, Heidegger starts with I am in the world.
It's more nuanced than that.
Okay.
He's trying to dissolve the traditional subject-object dichotomy altogether.
Whoa, dissolve the dichotomy.
Mhm.
That sounds intense.
It is.
What does that even mean?
Heidegger believes that the subject and the world are not two separate entities.
Okay.
They are fundamentally intertwined.
Okay.
You can't understand one without the other.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get a glimpse of what Heidegger is getting at,
Yeah.
but this is some seriously deep thinking.
It is, but it's also incredibly insightful.
It is.
And to fully grasp this interconnectedness between subject and world,
Yeah.
we need to dive into the heart of Heidegger's philosophy. Temporality.
Time again.
Time again.
I knew it couldn't stay away for long.
Right.
So how does our experience of time help us bridge this gap, this connection between ourselves and the world?
That's exactly what we'll explore in our next segment.
Okay.
Get ready for a mind-bending journey into the depths of temporality.
Sounds good.
All right. Welcome back.
Back again.
Are you ready to unravel the mysteries of Heidegger's view of time?
Absolutely.
Good.
Last time we left off with this idea that understanding time or temporality is key to understanding both ourselves and the very nature of being.
That's right.
It's a lot to wrap my head around.
It is.
Like, how do we
definitely.
even begin?
Well, remember how Heidegger says that traditional philosophy has gotten time all wrong?
Yeah, he basically throws out that linear view of time as a straight line.
Right.
Past, present, future.
Exactly.
It's just like a timeline.
He argues that time is much more dynamic and interconnected than that.
Okay.
He uses the term ecstatic to describe this.
Ecstatic time.
Yes.
Okay, now I'm really curious.
Okay.
What does that even mean?
It means standing outside oneself.
Okay.
Heidegger is saying that our very being is always projecting itself outward into the future while simultaneously being shaped by the past.
So it's like past, present, and future are all tangled up together, influencing each other in ways we don't always realize?
Precisely.
Okay.
They're not separate compartments, but rather intertwined dimensions of our existence.
All right, so how does this ecstatic view of time connect to Dasein, our being in the world?
Well, think about how you experience the world.
Okay.
You're not just passively observing the present moment.
Right.
You're always anticipating what's to come, making plans, setting goals.
Right.
This future directedness is a core part of Dasein.
So even something as simple as daydreaming about a vacation is a deeply philosophical act. according to Heidegger.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Heidegger is saying that this forward momentum, this reaching towards possibilities, is not just some superficial aspect of our lives.
Yeah.
It's woven into the very fabric of our being.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this challenges the way I usually think about time.
Yeah.
It's not just something that happens to me. It's something that I'm actively participating, shaping, and being shaped by.
Exactly.
And it's not just about the future either.
It's not.
Heidegger also emphasizes how the past is constantly informing our present experience.
That's
right. Like how a childhood memory can suddenly pop up and completely change my mood.
Yeah.
Or even influence the decision I'm making right now.
That's a perfect example.
Yeah.
Heidegger argues that the past isn't just gone.
Right.
It's still a part of who we are,
Yeah.
shaping our understanding of the world and ourselves.
But it's not like we're tracked by our past, right?
No, Heidegger emphasizes that we have the capacity to reinterpret our past, to give it new meaning in light of our present understanding.
So it's not just about what happened, it's about how we understand those events now.
Exactly.
In the present.
He calls this historicality.
Historic.
This ongoing process of reinterpreting and integrating our past into our present understanding of ourselves.
Okay, so we've got this dynamic interplay of past, present, and future all shaping our being in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still struggling with how Heidegger connects this to the bigger picture of being itself.
That's where things get really profound.
Okay.
Heidegger argues that understanding temporality, this dynamic structure of time, is the key to understanding the very meaning of being.
So it's like time is the hidden code that unlocks the secret of being.
That's a great way to think about it.
Okay.
Heidegger argues that being is not a static thing, but a process of constant becoming. Oh, it's not about something
right,
but about its constant coming to be and passing away.
So being is a verb, not a noun.
You got it.
All right.
And Heidegger argues that this process, this constant flux of being, is only accessible to us through our own experience of time. We see glimpses of it in the way things change, evolve, and eventually fade away.
Right.
This constant flux is the essence of being.
Okay, I think I'm starting to grasp the enormity of this concept.
Okay, good.
It's like, by paying attention to how time shapes our own lives, we can start to understand something much bigger, the very nature of existence itself.
That's the essence of Heidegger's philosophy. He's saying that time isn't just this abstract concept.
Right.
It's the very ground of our being and the lens through which we can glimpse the mystery of being itself.
All right, that is mind-blowing. But if we're rethinking our entire understanding of time, what happens to those everyday concepts like past, present, and future?
Right.
Do they still hold any meaning?
Heidegger doesn't completely discard these concepts.
Okay.
He says they're still important.
Right.
But we need to understand them within this larger framework of temporality.
Okay.
He even reinterprets these terms to better reflect their role in our being in the world.
Okay, so give me the Heidegger version of past, present, and future.
All right. Heidegger reimagines the future as coming towards.
Coming towards.
Yes.
What's the difference between that and just the future?
It's subtle, but important.
Okay.
Heidegger emphasizes that the future isn't just an empty container waiting to be filled.
Right.
It's not some fixed destination that we are passively moving toward.
So it's not just about what might happen. It's about the possibilities.
Yes.
The potential that we are constantly projecting ourselves into.
You got it.
Go.
And those possibilities aren't just external events.
Right.
They also relate to who we might become.
Okay.
The future, according to Heidegger, is about our potential to be.
Okay, I see how this is a much more active and dynamic way of thinking about the future.
Yeah.
So it's not just something that happens to me. It's something I have a hand in creating.
That's right.
Through the choices I make and the paths I choose.
Precisely.
Okay.
And this is where Heidegger connects temporality to freedom.
Okay.
He believes that this future directedness, this coming towards, is fundamental to our ability to choose and to shape our own destinies.
That's a really empowering way to think about it. It's not about being trapped by fate.
Right.
It's about recognizing that the future is always unfolding.
That's right.
And we have a role to play in that unfolding.
Exactly.
And this brings us to Heidegger's reinterpretation of the past. He refers to it as binness.
Binness, yeah.
Binness. I'm trying to picture that.
Think about it this way.
Okay.
The past isn't just a collection of events that are over and done with. It's not just gone in some absolute sense.
Right.
Instead, it's a dimension of our being that we are constantly carrying with us,
Okay.
shaping who we are in the present.
So it's like, even though I can't change what happened,
Right.
I can change how I understand it.
Exactly.
How it fits into my story.
That's the idea.
Oh.
Heidegger is highlighting the active role we play in interpreting our past. We're not just passively shaped by it, we're constantly reevaluating it in light of our present experiences and understanding.
This is making me think about how we tell stories about our past.
Right.
We might emphasize different events or interpret them in new ways as we grow and change.
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
Heidegger believes this process of reinterpreting our past is essential to personal growth and development. It's how we learn from our experiences and create a coherent narrative of ourselves.
Okay, so the future is coming towards, the past is been-ness.
Yeah.
What about the present? What does Heidegger do with that?
Heidegger refers to the present as making present.
Making present. That sounds intriguing.
Heidegger is emphasizing that the present isn't just this fleeting moment that we passively experience.
Okay.
It's something we actively shape through our engagement with the world.
So it's not just about being in the present. It's about actively creating the present.
You've got it.
Wow.
And this making present always happens in relation to both the past and the future.
Okay.
We bring our past experiences and future aspirations to bear on this moment.
Okay.
Shaping it through our actions and decisions.
Okay, this is making me see the present moment in a whole new light.
Okay, good.
It's not just something that's happening to me. It's something I'm actively constructing.
Yes.
Through my choices and my engagement with the world.
That's right.
But this is a lot to process.
It is. But the key takeaway here is that Heidegger's view of temporality is radical.
Okay.
He challenges us to move beyond that linear, static view of time.
Right.
And to embrace its dynamic, interconnected nature.
Okay.
And by understanding temporality, we gain a deeper understanding not only of ourselves, but also of the very mystery of being.
All right, my brain needs a moment to catch up. This is definitely a lot to digest.
It is.
I need a nap.
But stick with us, because in the next segment, we'll explore how this new understanding of temporality leads Heidegger to his groundbreaking concept of the ontological difference.
The ontological difference? Okay, so on to this ontological difference. What is it?
The ontological difference is the cornerstone of Heidegger's philosophy.
Okay.
It's his way of drawing a clear line in the sand between being, that mysterious source of all existence, and beings, all the individual things that exist.
Okay, so remind me again why this distinction is so important to Heidegger.
Heidegger argues that traditional philosophy has consistently failed to grasp this fundamental difference.
Okay.
It's treated being as if it were just another being, a larger or more abstract category.
Okay.
But still a thing among things.
So like instead of seeing being as the canvas, they've tried to make it just another brushstroke in the painting.
Exactly.
Got it.
And that, according to Heidegger, has led to centuries of philosophical dead ends.
Right.
It's blinded us to the true nature of being.
Okay, I'm seeing the problem.
Yeah.
But how can we even wrap our minds around it?
Right.
How can we talk about something that's not a thing?
That's the challenge.
Yeah.
And Heidegger doesn't offer any easy answers.
Right.
He argues that we can't grasp being through the same methods we use to understand beings.
Okay.
We can't define it, categorize it, or pin it down.
So we can't just study it like we study a rock or a tree.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We need a different approach. And this is where our deep dive into temporality becomes crucial.
Time again.
Time again.
I'm sensing a pattern here.
Right.
It always seems to circle back to time with Heidegger.
Well, it's the key to unlocking Heidegger's philosophy.
Yeah.
Remember how we talked about time as the horizon for understanding being?
Right.
Our experience of time, with its constant interplay of past, present, and future, provides a glimpse into the dynamic, unfolding nature of being itself.
Okay, so our experience of time, with all its complexities and contradictions, somehow reflects the very nature of being.
That's the idea.
Okay.
Think about it. Being isn't static.
Yeah.
It's a constant process of coming to be and passing away,
Right.
just like we experience in our own lives.
Right.
Things emerge, change, and eventually fade away.
Right.
This constant flux is the essence of being.
Wow. Okay, so by paying attention to how time shapes our lives and the world around us, we can start to understand something much bigger. the very essence of existence itself.
Precisely. It's like by tuning into the rhythm of our own existence, we can hear the heartbeat of being.
This is definitely stretching my brain in new ways.
It is.
But there's still this gap.
Right.
This ontological difference between our everyday experience and this profound mystery of being.
Right.
How do we bridge that gap?
This is where Dasein, our being in the world, comes into play.
Right.
Remember how Heidegger emphasizes that we're not just passive observers?
Right.
We're actively engaged with the world,
right.
shaping it and being shaped by it?
Right. We're always interacting with things, giving them meaning.
Exactly.
Incorporating them into our lives.
And because Dasein is temporal, because our very existence is structured by time, we have a special kind of access to being.
Okay.
We experience the world through this lens of temporality. And that lens, Heidegger argues, allows us to catch glimpses of being itself.
So being human, being Dasein, gives us a unique perspective on the mystery of being.
It does.
Like we have a backstage pass to the biggest show in the universe.
I like that analogy.
Okay.
But it's not about having some special power or ability. It's simply about recognizing that our everyday existence is already a revelation of being.
Okay.
We just need to learn how to see it.
Okay, so if I'm understanding this correctly, Heidegger is saying that the ontological difference is this fundamental gap between being and beings.
Yes.
And we can't understand being through the same methods we use to understand beings.
That's right.
But through our experience of temporality, through our being Dasein, we can catch glimpses of being itself.
That's a great summary.
Okay.
It's an incredibly complex concept.
It is.
But it's a crucial insight that can change how we see ourselves, the world, and everything in it.
Absolutely. Well, listeners, we've reached the end of our deep dive into Heidegger.
We share.
It's been a wild ride.
It has.
Full of twists and turns.
A lot to think about.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So as you go about your day,
pay
pay attention to your own being in the world. Notice how time shapes your thoughts, your actions, your very being.
Good advice.
You might be surprised at what you discover.
Until next time.
Keep questioning.
Keep exploring.
And keep diving deep.
See you next time.